Hello, this is a sound test.
Test, test. Voice check. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth race of the season. Fifth race of the season? No, fourth.
It's fourth.
Uh, yeah, we are in the wonderful, country of Bahrain. Very small, Middle Eastern nation who very rich and has a beautiful circuit. Um, yeah, we've got some interesting racing today. We'll start with Supercart, who I believe might be in France. Don't quote me on that. Um, I'll let Dwight decide if that's correct or not.
Uh, you're making me double guess myself. I'm pretty sure we're in Argentina.
Okay, sure. Argentina. That's the other France country, right?
Yeah, very
Yeah,
close.
don't hurt me. Yeah. Yeah, let's go with supercarts, I guess. Not much to say about them. Just a quick reminder that tonight's races are our first consistency track of the season. And yeah, a quick talk about supercarts. At the moment, it's a tie up front for the championship lead between Crash This Dummy and Woody Guthrie, both at 52 points. Annie Skywalker comes in third at 34 points. Also, Annie Skywalker does have a win, so our top three in the standings have a win each. Clinton Lewis comes in fourth, Scott Muffin fifth. Yeah, hoping to see Stumpy Jones here get his first points in kart. So, quick reminder that Supercarts is a one lap qualifying and a small 10 lap race with always going to be clear weather in karts.
All right, everything looked good. We'll get into it.
Yep.
Starting with the qualifying lap. Oh, let me turn the game sound on.
Yeah, I was going to tell you the game sounds are not on. Meanwhile, as we wait for the sound to come back, the karts are going along, and Stumpy Jones in his lemon yellow car is in the lead. Let's see how it is once they get to the finish line. But yeah, Stumpy Jones will take pole by 0.02 from Yukigo. Scott Muffin will come in third. Annie Skywalker fourth. Binotobot. Ooh. Is Annie Skywalker a bot?
No, Annie Skywalker is Mole KBM racing, and it's really funny. He's actually Focus Sport like spec, so
Okay. No,
it-
it's just because some names are in caps and some names are not.
If it has a
So,
capital letter in their names at all, they're a user. I just forgot to change that person's from
sounds good. I just
entirely.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so it's really just entirely lowercase as bots right now. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we're off with the sprint race, I guess, for the cars.
Mhm.
As is that Scud Muffin gets past Stumpy Jones, takes the lead, and I believe
Yukio is
no, it's
doing really
Yukigo at the
well.
moment. Yeah, Yukigo, Stumpy Jones, Scud Muffin up there, battling two Maple Troops up front there, very aggressive. And Annie Skywalker also manages to get past Yukigo, who has a pretty bad second lap there. Both Maple Troops up front are battling really tightly. Are we able to see car health and their names on top of it?
Oh yeah, I pressed tab. Let me see.
There we go. Thank you. I do like to see car health,
Yeah.
especially
Oh, me
in
too.
something like parts. As some battling in the third to sixth spot there between what is it? Clinton Lewis, Woody Guthrie, Clinton. To Clinton Lewis twice. Woody Guthrie, Clinton Lewis, Yukigo, and Annie Skywalker. Championship leader also crashed this dummy running in 7th. So that's pretty good for the with the player drivers in the first 7 spots of this race.
Mm-hmm. Well, now that we've had updating open for everyone and everything's like working for everyone, the bots will definitely take a backseat to the race compared to what the first 2 races were, which had a bot I think finish as early as 2nd. So.
Yeah, I mean, the bots are kind of an obstacle for the championship. Since if they take a spot, the drivers behind them don't get bumped up, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, they don't count for the actual championship in the sense that a bot will not be world champion.
Yeah, they really just prevent those drivers that have like a 2 and an attribute from getting any points, which is a real big detriment for a long-term play.
And meanwhile, Stumpy Jones with a significant 2-second gap over Scud Muffin, his teammate. Yukigo and Annie Skywalker and Woody Guthrie are now in the chase for that 2nd spot with 2 laps to go. And there's some very good stuff there for I believe the black cars are
Mercedes.
Mercedes.
So gray, so they're just a very lighter hue is Mercedes, and then black is Hendrix, which are both bots for the supercart.
As we get to the last few corners there, let's focus on Stumpy Jones in the lead. Stumpy Jones followed by Scud Muffin. This looks like it's going to be a 1-2 for Maple Street. Yukigo will take 3rd, Annie Skywalker 4th, Woody Guthrie 5th. And yeah, so that's some very big damage there in the midfield of the carts. I think any longer would have actually done some serious damage here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you do the standings as I take screenshots.
All right, yeah, and first we have the tandem of Maple Street Racing of Stumpy Jones and Scud Muffin, Yukio of Mercedes in 3rd, Annie Skywalker in 4th, Woody Guthrie in 5th, Crash Test Dummy with the fastest lap of the day in 6th, of Hot Wheels, because speed. 7th is Clinton Lewis of Alpiner, followed by Jinbot and BenitoBot of Hendrix and Ferrari. Mini Driver takes the 10th position in Hot Wheels. Then we have a series of bots up until 15th, where Creed Bratton of Ferrari.
You can scroll all the way down, by the way.
And Jimmy Smo in 17th, followed by a few more bots.
Yep.
Let me know when you're ready.
We are good for supercards. So yeah, pretty happy to see most of the bots in the back half. We do have a Jin bot and a Binotto bot performing pretty well for their teams, but yeah, no points for them in the championship, but points denied to other drivers in this race. Moving on, we're up to F3, where 2 wins in 3 races has Sophia Toth leading the championship with 61 points. Lady Driver follows with solid performances across all 3 races, 51 points. Pastor Maldonado, third, 39 points. Mark Martin, 1 win, 30 points. And Ambrose Rove is closes out your top 5 with 24 points. The season's still young. There are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers that are yet to score points. But again, consistency track, new set of people in the lead. Who knows? And it'll be interesting to see who shows up.
You want to double check, just make sure everything looks proper. We're clear weather today for F3, right? Only
F3, we have some clear weather today.
Perfect.
It's F2 that will have the 25% rain. But let's get on with qualifying.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think Chester Curd should be the favorite for this one. I think he had one of the higher consistencies for F3, as well as Pete Savage. I know for as teams go, because different teams had different things set up. It looked like Maple Stroop Gaming, they really had a rough start to the season because of the track types, but I'm pretty sure a majority of their drivers are built for consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. But it looks like Pete Savage will take pole. Right behind him, we have Castel Angelic for Volkswagen IBM. And in third place, we do have Scott Pilgrim for Alpiner. Pastor Maldonado, Mark Martin, Alexei Ozolins, Chester Curd, Steve, Fillmore Carlin, and Dale Gordon Jr. will round out your top 10. Back half of the starting grid will be Lady Driver, Ray Alexander, Hilo Hayden, Ambrose Rove, Miguel Duhamel, Ryan Gosling, James Dion, Sophia Toth, Gustav Skovgaard, and Juan Pablo in last. So let's get on with the race. As let's go on, they go off, and we're off for the race. Pretty good start there by Pete Savage, holding on to the first place, but actually Pastor Maldonado coming from 4th there, down the inside, this hairpin, and will go into 2nd. Very good start for Pastor Maldonado there. Field is very close behind Pete Savage. Pastor Maldonado tries to go around the inside, but is shut down by Pete Savage, who uses some turbo to go away. Mark Martin there using turbo, spots himself into 3rd place, but gets switched back by Scott Pilgrim. Mark Martin now challenging Maldonado for that 2nd place, and Dale Gordon Jr. also shows up and will take that 3rd place away from Mark Martin. It's a bit of a cluster as positions keep switching between the drivers. In that 2nd to 6th spot, we're seeing 3 wide, almost 4 wide, as Scott Pilgrim has nowhere to go, and then the field kind of thins out. But all this fighting is letting Pete Savage kind of stretch his lead ahead of the others. Quick reminder that all top 6 drivers are running the soft tires at the moment. Around a bit further down the back, we have another cluster of drivers I saw. So there's a bunch of little clusters here and there, as Steve, Mark Martin are now fighting for that 6th, 7th spot, with Ozolinch right behind them, tailing them. It'll be interesting to see when the pit stops happen. Predicting 1 to 2 pit stops depending on tire strategy. I would assume most drivers do 1. Maybe someone decides to do 2 for some reason. But keep an eye out on that. In the meanwhile, Scott Pilgrim has closed down on Pete Savage, under half a second between the top two drivers, Maple Street and Alpiner there. And Pete Savage is getting dove down the inside by Scott Pilgrim, who will take the lead. So first time we have a new leader this race, as Scott Pilgrim leads the world, I guess. I was trying to find a pun there. But Pete Savage goes down the inside and retakes that first place. Uses a bit of turbo to recreate some distance between him and Scott Pilgrim. Pastor Maldonado runs in third, Marky Mark Martin fourth, Steve fifth.
I wonder if we're gonna start seeing some pit stops here, as all these soft
I
tires.
mean, if we look at the soft tires, it's already about halfway through. You're seeing it a bit on the corners there, as Scott Pilgrim is drifting a bit more than other drivers, but drifting he does and takes the lead again from Pete Savage. And Savage is back in the lead, but the drivers right behind them, Maldonado and Martin, go into the pits. Chester Kurt goes into the pits as well. Scott Pilgrim clips the edge of the track and loses a significant amount of speed. Has to use his turbo to reclose the gap. All this said, we haven't talked about it, but the orange car is Steve there in third, slowly inching his way back towards the top two. So, don't count anyone out yet, as Steve will take the lead of the race with Pete Savage and Scott Pilgrim in the pits. Second place now goes to Zolich, who is carefully running those hard tires for a bit longer, I suppose. Probably gonna do a hard to soft strategy. Pete Savage comes back out with soft tires. Those tires might be a bit worn by the end, but it'll give him great speed early on. Scott Pilgrim and Maldonado also running those softs after their pits. And Steve is now in the pits, giving Zolich the lead of the race. And Steve slots in right behind the was it third, fourth, fifth group. So he's in sixth. Definitely interesting and colorful front of the field. And Zolich does take his pit now at lap 10, so those hard tires are going to be off, and he will come out on softs. So Pete Savage is back in the lead with a 1.4 second lead over Scott Pilgrim. Pastor Maldonado, Steve follow right behind with Martin in fifth. That group has been very tight throughout the entire race. Lots of overtakes as Maldonado forces his way past, and Steve will take an advantage and will overtake both of them. Steve now the lead chase car behind Savage. Yeah, and it's looking very interesting. Most drivers are on softs on the track at the moment. A couple drivers are on the alternate strategy with mediums, but I don't believe those will last long enough to be taken advantage of later in the race. So the soft-to-soft strategy might be the one that we're looking at. Steve now trying to overtake Skogard, and will actually overtake Savage at the very last corner. It's now a drag race between Steve and Savage. Savage says no thanks, I have all the turbo, but goes wide, and Steve takes the lead of the race. Steve versus Savage at the front, but Maldonado is also trying to push his way and close the gap. What did you make of the race so far?
It's been a real back and forth. It's kind of wild to see how Steve has made his progression up to the first, because I'm pretty sure he started his pole position. I want to say he was at least fifth back. So
yeah, he was fifth or sixth at the end of the qualifying.
So he's really made his moves to get to the front of the pack, and has done
with
a
half
great
the
job.
race left there, it's going to be a matter with like two big straights there. It's going to be whoever has the most turbo, and can Savage close the gap? I don't think he will. Steve runs the last corner through the grid and will take the win.
Yeah, and Steve taking a bit of a later pit stop. He had fresher tires, and that was really just a big difference maker.
Yeah, I believe it was just like one lap after the leaders, who went one lap after the first set of soft pits. So, you know, extending that first stint, it makes it so that your second stint, you can push that much harder. As most of the drivers cross the finish line within the time limit, I'll let you go through the standings.
Yeah, in first place and also the fastest lap, we have Steve. Really just for McLaren coming out big today. Second, we had Pete Savage of Maple Stroop. Third, we had Pastor Madonna of Mercedes. Fourth, Mark Martin. Fifth, Scott Pilgrim, after an amazing start. Really just lost gas. And sixth, we have Alexi Ozline of Aston Martin.
Ozolinch.
However you pronounce that name. And seventh, you have Dale Gordon Jr. of Hot Wheels. Eighth, Chester Curd of Aston Martin. Ninth, Ambrose Rove. 10th, Fillmore Carlin, and that's your top 10. 11th, you have Castile Angelic and Miguel Duhamel. 13th, you have Ray Alexander. 17th, you have Toth. I believe they were the leader so far for F3.
They were the championship leader, yes.
Yeah, they were the championship leader. So having a big fall back today. And 15th, you have Ryan Gosling. 16th, Lady Driver. 17th, James Dion. 18th, Gustav Skarsgård. And 19th, Caleb Hayden. And 20th, Juan Pablo.
One thing I do want to point out is that Castile Angelic had he qualified second and finished out just outside the points. That's a bit of a sad story for Castile Angelic, but yeah. If you don't push it, maybe the car today was just good for qualifying, but not over the whole race. Moving on with Formula 2, I guess. Currently with 2 wins in 3 races, Nash Topalo from Alpine is your championship leader. Merit Excel von Selenar, second, 12 points back at 46 with also 1 win. Third place, Body Utah, 43 points. Tess Zimmer, 4th with 35 points. And Harrison Andrews in 5th place. Closes out your top 5. We do have 6 drivers that do not have points, notably bottom splits. Kiel Hillenberg, Mamma Mia, Mickey Mouse, the American Victory. So it'll be interesting to see if those drivers are able to take advantage of the consistency track to get their first points.
Oh, I fully expect you do. You start to see specialization with these, with those names in particular you mentioned, with Mickey Mouse, Mamma Mia, both having a 9 in consistency, and we have our first fully maxed out attribute with Victory. So I expect the podium to flip today. With those people who just have no points.
Yeah, and it's notably also due to the people that last season we had 2 reaction tracks, and this season we have a lot more of them. So the people that invested in reaction, although there were only 2 races, got the benefit at the start of the season. So it's very early in the championship. We're not even a third of the way through, so. Plenty to play for still.
Absolutely. We have 24 laps, and it's F2, so what would F2 be without a little bit of rain?
We do love the 25% rain in Formula 2.
Did you want me to do 2 or 1 tire wear?
2, as we do.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Everything's good. All right. So we get into the qualifying lap.
We are off with our single qualifying lap as the cars go through and start their timed lap. And we see early on at the front of the pack, I believe, Tess Zimmer, Mamma Mia up front there. Who else do we have up front? Someone uses. I'm just trying to see.
Oh, the boost hits really hard.
But,
You have Bodie Utah, who made a really big push right there.
I believe bottom splits, Mickey Mouse are up there as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and someone using big turbo.
Alex
there
Albano, man.
And look at that! We actually have a photo finish for pole.
Alex
Albano must have had like 0.001 on Body Utah.
Wow.
What qualifying at the end there? Because look at that. Afterwards, bottom splits 0.03 behind. Test Simmer 0.08 behind. Like, the top 4 are separated by nothing.
Yeah, it's wild. Alright, so let me know when you want me to get down to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly run down the top of the grid. Albano, Utah splits. Zimmer, as we said, top 4. Mickey Mouse comes in 5th for Ferrari. Mamma Mia, as we discussed, up there. Talbush lights for Hendricks. Very good for Hendricks today, actually, in qualifying. 7th, Victory 8th, Harrison Andrews 9th, and Connor Fox 10th. So pretty good for Maple Stroop as well, it being in the top half. The back half of the grid, Dalton Canders, Merrick Rixel, Fun Salinar, Zoom Zoom, I Go Quick, Nash Palos, Steven Toes, Kiel Holmberg, Popcat, who can't seem to get going this season so far. Jamie Johnson, Willie Miller, and the American rounds it out for McLaren. McLaren in last in F2. That sounds very familiar. Well, we're off for the race, and looks like Body Utah has the inside and will pip Alex Albano, who uses turbo right away. So does bottom splits. It's a bit of a cluster up front between those 3 drivers. Tess Simmer also up there, and Mamma Mia for Mole. Well, not Mole Adra anymore. It's Mole KTM. That'll take me some time. I will get it right. Yeah, I mean the top 5 drivers are up there, but you know, Mickey Mouse is also trying to hold on there. Remember that we do have 25% rain. It does not mean that it will actually rain for 25% of the race, but there are odds that it'll rain. So keep an eye out on the weather. But at the moment, we have a group of, let's say, 5 drivers that are in the pack there between Simmer, Mouse, Mamiya, Albano, and Utah. Utah falling a bit behind there after a very solid first lap. But yeah.
Yeah, you start to see the soft tires really come to the front of the pack and start to see those separations as those get worn.
And once they get worn, you can see the durability for them is 4 to 7 laps. So as those tires get more and more worn, the medium tire runners, the hard tire runners will start to close the gap. So, you know, you'll see it very soon as the soft runners will start to drift more and more around the corners. You hear it in the screeches as well if you're listening to the game audio. But Albano will take us round to the end of lap 4 in the lead, ahead of Mickey Mouse and Tess Simmer, Mamiya 4th, and Utah 5th. Utah really struggling on those soft tires right there, having to use boost to keep up with the top runners. But Mamiya is actually our medium tire runner, and you know, he's catching up to those soft tire runners who are suffering a lot more.
And this is where you start to see those tire choices coming into a factor as you start to see our first soft tire pits of the day.
Yeah,
As Mamma Mia starts to take a commanding lead.
yeah, and like all our soft tire drivers went into the pits. Gives us the medium tires runners up front, and look at Victor, right? He's well,
He's
slower start, but on the hard tires.
And I think he started in like 8th or ninth place, so he's made quite a progression up early.
Absolutely. And Harrison Andrews on those mediums comes in. So are we seeing the very first medium tire runners? I would say this lap and next might be the ones where the medium ones go in.
Yeah, as you look at our leader, Mamma Mia is starting to slow down with those medium tires being worn.
Yeah, and Body Utah right behind him as well, right? Hasn't pit yet, but Mamiya has actually a pretty decent gap on everyone else.
I wonder if
Body
they're
Utah will go into the pits.
I wonder if they're gonna go with the idea of, well, if it's gonna rain soon, I might as well get as much as I can, because if I throw on some soft tires or hard tires, and then it's see, as we had like a warning for rain, there was no actual rain, so
Yeah, I mean, you just got you just saw it. They said coming soon, sun. So go hard at the moment. But I believe Mamiya is now in the pits, which will let Tessimer on those fresh hards take the lead of the race. It'll also allow Mickey Mouse on a second set of softs and Alex Albano on hards as well to get ahead of Mamiya, albeit on more worn tires. As the field, gradually expands, and as we round out lap 9 to start lap 10, we can quickly go through some of the top 10 drivers. The Tess Simmer leads from Albano, from Mickey Mouse, Mamiya, Body Utah, that's your top 5. It's followed by bottom splits, Harrison Andrews, Connor Fox, Victor Uri, who did in the end pit for mediums, and Popcat in 10th. The weather is slowly shifting to on the verge between sunny and cloudy. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a second half with potentially more variable weather. Let's go with that. But again, it could be 25% rain and then we have no rain. This is, after all, a track in the desert, Even if it has rain in the name of the country, doesn't mean it'll actually rain.
True.
Sorry, I was taking a breather here. Starting to see a few drivers that did the very aggressive soft-to-soft strategy make their second pit stop, and look at Mickey Mouse. Not only is he very aggressive with that 2 softs, he's on a 3rd soft at the moment. So this is a very, I don't want to say Ferrari strat, but it's a very, it's a very aggressive, go hard, drive hard, which would be great if you were up front, but you're not at the front. I feel like you're just slowly getting yourself further and further back.
Absolutely.
But top 3 now are pretty close to one another between Tess Simmer, Mamiya, and Albano. They've kind of built a bit of a gap to 4th place Body Utah, who is trying to keep up. Victory is also there on those mediums. But between the mediums and the hards, I believe the hards are our top 3 runners are probably better served with their tire strategy at the moment. As Tess Simmer and Albano go into the pits, Mamiya will continue running, having pitted later than them on the first pits.
Oh, call for rain.
And this might actually be very good for Mamiya, who hasn't pit yet and just got the warning that it is going to rain. And look at that, as the other drivers behind him have to come for the pits for those wet tires. Mamiya is able to get out right now on full wets, and that is huge. That is very huge for the Mole KTM driver.
Yeah, because you saw the people who were in second place with Alex Obano and Tess Simmer the lap before, they stopped to get a fresh set of tires, and they essentially got a double pit.
Yep. And that also helps out Victory and Mickey Mouse, who, hadn't pit at that point or anytime soon. So they were able to put the wets on and are now in second and third. Tessim and Albano, who were running second and third prior to that, top three, are now in fourth and fifth and have to basically play catch up. But every driver now on those wets, yeah, I mean, it evens out the playing field, and that's basically all up to driver skill. If we look at who was helped by that, Harrison Andrews, I believe, was managed to climb a few positions. Body Utah dropped back a couple, as we see a few drivers take that curb and slow down. I believe that's corners 2 and 3 there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle Busch Jr. for showing us that. Yeah, Mamiya is increasing his gap up front. Sees the opportunity, and it's paying off. But we do have an interesting battle there happening between Tess Simmer, Mickey Mouse, and Albano for third place. As Albano gets overtaken by Mickey Mouse around the very wet corner. And although it stopped raining, the track is still wet. You can see it from the vertical bar next to the weather in the top thing. Now that it's sunny, it's going to start drying up a bit faster. But how dry is it going to get before the end of the race? It's all about bold choices at this point. Do you think you can hold on with the wets versus going on to softs and just pushing for till the end, or do you yeah
especially with only 3 laps left.
And what does Mamma Mia do up front, right? Because if he holds on to it and the others behind him swap, he's gonna lose a lot of time. Whatever it is, people who are going into the pits will be swapping to softs if they have to pit, and we might actually be going in a lap or so based on how fast it is drying up. Let's keep an eye out on the pits as we are getting to the last drops. There we go. Mickey Mouse onwards are all going into the pits. So the top 3 are still on wets. Let's see when they go into the pits. But potentially some...
Yeah, you saw Mamma Mia go into the pits right now to switch over to those softs, as it looked like he had Victory's short behind him.
Yeah, Victory pitting right now as well, and is able to get back. So, Tess Simmer also there. Is Tess Simmer able to hold on to third? Looks like it. Mickey Mouse is now on the hunt, which is very funny to say because
yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Bless y'all for your fun names there. Body Utah just, high hopes up front, and then just gradually things have not been going his way throughout the race, and now back down to 8th, but at least still getting points.
Well, this has to be really good for their team, though, because I don't think this is his specialty, this style. So for him to get a top 10 placement with or potentially getting a top 10 placement as we start
Oh
to
well,
see Mamma
as
Mia
we
go.
talk, we forgot to look at the last lap, but Mamma Mia wins the race. Victory takes second. Tess Simmer holds on and will take third. Yeah, I honestly tactical brilliance there for Mamma Mia.
Mm-hmm.
Like very, very solid racing up front. But we have a couple of drivers that will get their first points there, notably bottom splits, I believe. Mamma Mia, Mickey Mouse, no, even Victory, right, is able to get those first points, and those are usually the most important ones.
Mm-hmm.
I will let you go with it as I.
All right.
The
In
race
first place, we channel our speed running with Mamma Mia of MolKBM. Followed by, in second place, Victory of Maple Stroop, and third place, Tess Simmer of Volkswagen BM Racing. Fourth is Mickey Mouse of Ferrari with the fastest lap of the day with 82.02 second lap.
all those soft tires that he used, he better have the fastest lap.
Alex Albano, your qualifying leader, fell down to fifth place of Hendricks. With sixth, you have Harrison Andrews. Seventh, you have Bottom Splits. Eighth, you have Bodie Utah. Ninth, Connor Fox. 10th, Kyle Busch Light. And 11th, you have Popcat. 12th, you have Zoom Zoom I Go Quick of Mercedes. 13th, you have Von Salinar of Hot Wheels. And 14th, you have Nash DePaulo. 15th, Dalton Canders. 16th, Stephen Toast. 17th, William Miller of Hot Wheels. 18th, you have Kel of McLaren. And then 19th, you have Jimmy Johnson. And 20th, you have the American of McLaren.
Yeah.
Rounding it out.
The American again, very reminiscent of the Bob Bergen in also from McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
Who had yeah,
absolutely. Let me know when you're ready to move on to the F1s.
Yeah, I believe we're ready to move. It's all posted, and let's get going with the big one.
Cool. All right.
So as we quickly look at the F1 standings, Pierre Hood leads the championship with 1 win and 54 points. Paul Hood, brother, also for Aston Martin, 1 win, 43 points. Felix van der Buysen third, 0 wins, 38 points. Purist Chicken, 1 win, 35 points. Dadley, 0 wins, 33 points. That's your top 5. We do have, once again, 5 drivers that have not scored points. Among them, surprisingly, Aaron Oshag Hennessy from Ferrari, our current vice champion. We have Alex Burkhardt with 0 points. Late for Bingo, our F2 champion in his first season in F1, still at 0 points. Michael Selick finished third in the championship, is at 0 points. And Xenia Della Torre, 0 points as well. Again, early in the season, consistency and is that one attribute that is probably going to change, and I expect a whole bunch of these guys to show themselves up at near the top of the race standings.
Yeah, I think like Alex Burkhardt, Xavi Venegas, and Bobby Brooks are probably the expected front runners for this race.
Yeah, Bobby Brooks, our current world champion in F1, has some points to his name, 16, but is currently in 7th in the standings. So time for that. 34 laps in Bahrain in the dry, and we have 2 qualifying laps. So small reminder to everyone. Let's get to qualifying.
Check I have everything else set up. Perfect.
And we're off for the first of 2 qualifying laps. I mean, as discussed, we see, I know it's early on, but you see Bobby Brooks in front, you see Alex Burkhardt in front. See, I believe that's Jackson Sile, Late for Bingo, D-Streak. So, a whole bunch of the names that we said, trying to show that just the tracks themselves didn't suit them early on, and it's showtime. So after one lap, 28-27, Bobby Brooks, Jackson Sile 20-37, and Randall Devil 20-43 are your top 3 times. Again, some drivers will have probably saved turbo for this one lap. Some drivers will have used it a bit on both, or used it on their first lap. It's all to play for as we round out the last corner, and let's see who takes the lead, or if it's going to stay Bobby Brooks. And Xavi Venegas will actually take pole with a 27.65. Randall Devil will take second with 28.07, so 0.42, the biggest gap tonight between the top 2 drivers. Bobby Brooks will take third. Rounding out your top 10, we'll have Jackson Sile and Mark Muller from Mercedes, and they're right next to one another. Alex Burkhardt, 6th. Jimmy Räikkönen, 7th. A. Jobin, 8th. Aaron Oshai Hennessy, 9th, and Fierce Chicken, 10th. Back half of the grid will be Pierre Houd, our championship leader, Matheus Carvalho, 12th, Paul Hood, 13th, Michael Selick, 14th, Late for Bingo, 15th, Roger District, Pierre Dadley, Xenia Della Torre, Felix van der Buysen, and Huff Carpentier will round out the grid. Any surprises?
Not really, actually.
Racing.
Those were all those big guys. I guess I expected Alex Burkhardt to have a faster qualifying lap, but maybe he's just saving it for the race.
And as we're off to the races, Xavi Venegas will hold on, and Randall Devil will get overtaken by both Jackson Sile and Bobby Brooks. Alex Burkhardt also challenging there for that top 5, and we already had a bit of a gap forming afterwards. With the following cars, some drivers here are running the soft tires up front, Venegas, Brooks, Sile, followed by Burkhardt, Devil, Räikkönen, who are running the hard tires. The medium tire runners, Muller, Bingo, and Hennessy are running out the top 10. So I'm expecting some very aggressive strategy there by our front runners. Also, with hard tire medium tire 5 to 8 laps, I'll be expecting maybe 3 to 4 pit stops this race, maybe closer to the 4 or 5, depend all things considered. So let's see how it rolls out. But at the moment, the top 4 are really pulling out, and honestly, props to Alex Burkhardt for keeping up on those hards with the top 3 soft tire runners.
Mm-hmm.
And behind them, there's already a 2-second gap as Late for Bingo tries to push. So it's very interesting to see our F1 and F2 champions in the top 5. As I say that, we do see Hennessy coming alive on those mediums and is able to close the gap down to Bingo. So some of our top talent is already up front, and let's see what happens down the line on this race, as drivers will look to pit sooner rather than later. Especially those soft tire runners pushing really hard. But again, for me, the highlight so far in the first 5 laps is not that Xavi Venegas is in the lead that far ahead. It's Burkhardt on those hard tires making it work. And making it work well, really well, as he closes the gap to Venegas down to under a second. And Venegas goes into the pits, so our soft tire runners are going into the pits, and this is going to be huge for Burkhardt. How much can he push on those hard tires? How much can those medium tire runners that are now in the 2nd to 4th, and the other hard tire runners, how much can they push to, overcut the ones that have pitted so far? But Late for Bingo now running second, the highest he's run this entire season on those medium tires. but I believe those medium tires will probably start going off this lap or the next. So I wouldn't be surprised if the medium tires go into the pits at the end of this lap. We do see Venegas now trying to get past Hennessy and just getting denied at the moment. It'll have to go for a bit later as Hennessy uses his turbo to restore the gap. But bad exit on the last corner makes Venegas really close by. Burkhardt comes back out on another set of hards, right behind our top two who are running mediums. So a fresh hard versus slightly older mediums, and Burkhardt is still right into it.
Well, Hennessy hasn't pit yet, so he's got some old mediums. Venegas has some new ones, so I fully expect Hennessy to pit this round. I'm honestly surprised he went as long as he did.
Yeah, he's going in.
He lasted on his mediums longer than Burkhardt did on his first set of hards.
Yeah, after all is said and done with the pits, we have Venegas from Brooks, from Seil, Burkhardt, Bingo, Devil, Hennessy, Muller, Raikkonen, and Chicken as your top 10. Our championship leaders, Pierre Hood and Paul Hood, are in 11th and 17th for Aston Martin. So maybe consistency is not necessarily their strongest aspect, but I believe they are much more invested in other attributes. Notably Reaction, where they absolutely dominated the competition in F1. But Venegas is still up front there for Maple Street, about 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 seconds in front of Bobby Brooks and Burkhardt, right behind Bobby Brooks. As Jackson Salas comes into a pit, and I believe that is his second pit, comes out on the medium. So soft to soft will get you to lap 11, lap 12. Basically six lap tire life for the soft, 7-8 tire life for mediums, and 9-10 for the hard is what I'm seeing. Xavier Venegas comes in for his second pit stop, gets rid of those mediums, and Bobby Brooks will now be in the lead with those hard tires. Hard tires that are, past halfway, that's when you start to have performance issues with the tires. But Bobby Brooks, getting past some lapped cars, making the most of it. He still probably has another lap or two on those tires before making the switch.
Venegas goes for mediums once again, which is kind of wild. Trying to close the distance.
And Bobby Brooks, I mean, what a story last year. Down to the last race of the season, both Ferrari drivers were dominant throughout the season. Not necessarily winning all the races, but always finishing in that top 5, and had such an incredible lead in the championship that no one else could really keep up with them in the constructors. Burkhardt now will take the lead with Brooke hitting for softs. Will be right behind Venegas, and based on when Brooks came into the pits and when Venegas came into the pits as well, I wouldn't be surprised if both those drivers will pit at around the same lap in this race for their next pit stop, which my guess will be around lap 19-20. Burkhardt will, however, lead the race. Bingo running a very solid race there in 4th. Has said it himself that had higher expectations early on, especially in Canada, but we knew that Reaction was not Bingo's strong suit. Which hopefully Bingo will invest a bit more in it, considering that it is such an important tribute this season, with many more races. So, what do you think? Any drivers that are surprising you, disappointing you so far this race?
Not particularly. I think everything's coming out. Kind of the Hood brothers. I'm kind of surprised that they're outside of the top 12, because I'm pretty sure they were pretty all around, but I guess for F1, consistency is the really ultra competitive attribute and stat, as we have some maxed out cars for this attribute, as it's the highest number of tracks that we're going to be playing this season.
Absolutely. That's where you have to get those points, right? If you're a consistency driver.
Mm-hmm.
Venegas overtakes Bobby Brooks. You know, those two will probably go back and forth for those race leads or top 3 positions with Burkhardt. You know, bar anything crazy, which it's just fairly standard. I don't think there's going to be anything too crazy. The top 3 is kind of a class apart there between Venegas, Brooks, and Burkhardt. No, for me, actually, the more disappointing driver so far tonight, in my opinion, is Michael Selig. I was expecting him to be a lot higher up in the field early in the season. Still has 0 points. Same thing with Xenia Della Torre. Those two drivers don't have any points this season and are not scoring any points here as well.
Yeah, it's very wild to think of that. Surprised they. I'm curious. I'm curious what their specialties are.
I don't have it up front, like open up front, but I believe at least one of them has focus.
Yeah, I believe
which is the one attribute we haven't seen yet. Don't have the schedule with the attributes right up on hand, but yeah, we got some juicy stuff in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Take a look in the back half and see. So we have quite a pile in front of Venegas of people he's lapping in the 14-15 area, slowing his ability to collapse.
Yeah, I think it's with 20 laps, 21 laps completed. Burkhardt leads on a 2 pit stops, being closed down by Venegas. Rendell Devil in 3rd, Bobby Brooks 4th, Jackson South 5th, Layford Dingle 6th, Mark Muller 7th, Jimmy Reckoning 8th, Aaron O'Shea Hennessy 9th, Furious Chicken 10th. Definitely, some of the guys at the very top of the standings are not scoring points. In fact, I believe none of the top 3 in the championship are scoring any points. Our highest one in the championship would be Fierce Chicken, who would be at them as of now scoring 1 point. Badly not scoring any points at the moment. Yeah, so the top 3 in the championship that would be scoring points are, and that's not in any order, it's just from top highest in points in the championship. None, but it's gonna be Fierce Chicken, Mark Muller, Bobby Brooks, who are having a very good race for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the interesting bit, I mean, it's very early to think about it, but who's at the bottom of the standings in F1, and when do teams start to consider, okay, well, this person is maybe less active, and they haven't scored many points, so maybe,
At what point, this is just lack of knowledge, at what point can you start to substitute or try and make plays for other drivers to join your team?
Your drivers are locked in for the season.
Okay.
You can start talking stuff like that for following seasons. Once the rosters are locked in and the first race is done, technically you could already start talking for next season if you wanted to. Uh, remember, we don't really have tampering rules in place. The only rules is for that is a driver has to respect their contract, right? There's no trades, so you respect your contract. If you sign for 1 season, you're a free agent afterwards. If you sign for 2 seasons, you're not.
Cool.
That every driver can see the status contracts in the contracts channel. There's a sheet that I maintain. If you want to see who's on what team, who's going to be free when, go for it. And it shouldn't just be the drivers that look as to the constructors who should look at, oh well, who's available. Maybe someone is very ambitious and then says, look, I'm available, I'd like to move up, offer me a spot, But at the end of the day, you have the voluntary movement up and down, and then you have the forced movement up and down, right? You always try to cause a little bit of chaos. So your bottom driver in the standings in Formula 1 and 2, both of those are forced to drop down, and your F2 and F3 champions are forced to move up at least one series. So you're creating this dynamic to force drivers to move the more active ones up top, right? Last season we had 5-6 drivers from Formula 3 move up to Formula 1. Formula 2. So all things considered, movement does happen. The idea is then, your Formula 1 is really the most active drivers. And we're in season 2, right? Regression only begins in season 5. So once that begins, you're starting to build the cycle of regression, retirement, inactivity, and all that, which will force drivers to, decide when to call it quits or maybe fall back down to Formula 2 or something like that.
I do appreciate how quick careers are. It's kind of like a single year.
Yeah. I think it's fun. Because career can be, it takes an hour to sim the entire sim, and then it takes 15 sims a season, and then 2 weeks off to fix stuff, let new drivers come in, etc. The whole point is that we can build an entire pyramid structure, right? To have more leagues and more simmers that could do dedicated leagues. One does the Formula leagues, and the next person does the kart leagues, etc. But bit by bit, it's a very young league. Only season 2. Definitely lots of things to clean up. The rule book, the standings. Looking forward to getting it right potentially. There's also been the fact that the 3 people in the board of directors have been very busy as of late because summer.
Yeah. Well, it looks like
quickly hopping back into the race. Alex Burkhardt on those medium tires, I believe he's gone hard, medium so far, is leading the race with 1 lap to go. Bobby Brooks is second, Randall Devil third, Xavi Venegas fourth with an extra. Those pit stops start to add up,
Oh, absolutely.
So, this is where someone who had a very consistent and conservative approach is really shining through. Alex Burkhardt, with half the race left now, half a lap left, I should say, not half a race, is going to be able to sneak through, and Randall Devil actually surprising everyone there. But Alex Burkhardt wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Venegas uses all his turbo and salvages second after leading for most of the race. Randall Devil will sneak into third. Bobby Brooks unfortunately finishes just outside the podium. And right behind him, wait for Bingo. So F1, F2 champion, 4th and 5th. Solid results for Hendricks there with Bingo. Muller 6, Sile 7, Raikkonen 8, Hennessy 9, Jobin 10. let me take a screenshot and I'll let you finish
Yeah.
up.
And first we have Alex Burkhart, who had a wonderful, efficient racing day, taking the first slot, followed by Xavi Venegas. Third, we have Randall Devil of Alpiner with the fastest lap of the day. And fourth, we have Bobby Brooks, who had some really spent soft tires at the end. Probably gave up a spot or two as a result of that. Fifth, we have Late for Bingo. Sixth, we have Mark Mueller and Jackson Seil of Mercedes. Eighth, we have Jami Räikkönen. And ninth, we have Aaron O'Shea Hennessy of Ferrari. And 10th, we have A. Jobin of Alpine, finishing the points. And 11th, we have Furious Chicken. 12th, Paul Hood. 13th, Pierre Dadley. 14th, Mateus Cavallo. 5th, we have Pierre Hood. 16th, we have Zina de la Torre. 17th, we have Michael Selich. 18th, Roger Distri. 19th, Felix de Van der Biesen. And 20th, we have fan favorite Puff Carpentier and of Hot Wheels.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on the races tonight? I mean, congrats on your win, first of all.
And
your first points, but in parts.
Yeah, it was a fun race tonight. Fun tracks to watch. Weather was really fun to watch Formula 2. The weather actually play a role in the placing and like where the pit stops were for the tires. So that was nice to see and really entertaining. Other than that, it's been really nice to see all of the drivers grow and kind of come into their own and see a nice diverse finishing for styles.
Absolutely. And yeah, just a quick note for next week. Next week, but sometime this week, it's going to be race week 5, let's call it like that. Saudi Arabia, a reaction track. Lots of walls last time around, if I recall. Very much a lot of car damage possible there. As we continue our tour of the Middle East, technically round 2 out of 3 in the Middle East, back to back, because we have just had Bahrain, we have Saudi Arabia next, and then we have Abu Dhabi with race 6, which will be our first of 4 focus tracks. Yeah,
it makes sense for travel costs to have them all around the same time. Keep everyone in the same area.
Yeah, I mean, still some questionable things, but we've seen some very interesting scheduling with Miami, Canada, back, kind of next to each other, even though it's actually pretty far between the two, because North America is big. We have the Middle Eastern rounds. We have a bit of everything all over the place afterwards with our, very travel-friendly Mexico, Australia, Japan, to finish in France. Yeah. That's that, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time in Saudi Arabia on a reaction track.